Thanks for staying with us here on TVC Breakfast. It's now time for us to look at what the papers are reporting. Let's look at the Nation newspaper with the advertorial, but it's more of a news, saying that President Tinubu to commission Kugbo bus terminal today, where you have the Honorable Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Barrister Ezenwo Nyesom Wike, and the Honorable Minister of State, Dr. Maria Mahmood, who will be on behalf of all the residents of the FCT. And then we have Leadership newspaper talking about the PDP crisis. Party registration, coalition faces hurdle over name clash. And the Blueprint newspaper, 2027, Atiku-led ADA, obedient 108 others seek INEC registration. Platform Times, Nigeria's recovery depends on governor's commitment to good governance. Tinubu declares, mocks opposition coalition, labels leaders political IDPs. This Nigeria, PDP reinstates Anyanwu as national secretary, suspends NEC meeting. He's been working not an appointee. Wike chides Damagum. And the Nigerian News Direct, Tinubu to sign landmark tax reform bills into law, ushering new fiscal era for Nigeria. We'll definitely dissect that. Let's move on to the Daily Trust, which has insecurity as its own focus. Soldiers, bandits in bloody clash in Niger. Many feared dead. And the Nigerian Tribune, above the masthead, you see that 70 soldiers, as a result of that, were killed and 10 others injured in battle with terrorists in Niger. That's according to Chief of Defense Staff. Daily Independence, again, tomatoes are now luxury in Nigerian kitchens. Families switch to substitutes as price soars. I've got an experiential story for you guys as regards to And then Sporting Life here, looking at so many stories here, but we'll be focusing largely on Iwobi, who is keen to follow in Ronaldinho's Okocha's footsteps. I'll be doing this with my colleagues Etoma, Veronica, and of course Ria. Let's get talking on by looking at the Nation newspaper. We've been having inauguration of projects from one state to the other, federal government project, from the inauguration of 2,000 tractors and many more to come, to roads infrastructure. The president was in Nasarawa State yesterday, and he said he was so proud of the governor and the governors at large, and that they are doing so well. So we've seen this inauguration. Another one is going to be happening later today. It is very good optics for this present administration that we are having a blizzard of commissionings going on everywhere. Right. It builds confidence amongst the citizenry and so on. For infrastructure, somebody was telling me that no, this administration it's really serious when it comes to infrastructure. Yeah. And for the economy, it is tackling the big side of the economy. That's right. And hoping that it will trickle down to the people. And all in all, it was a pass mark, and I believe it's a pass mark too. Are we seeing an impact of the removal of fuel subsidy in some of these projects we're seeing? At the point we used to have elephant projects, is that what they call it? But now we're having physical projects that we can see being inaugurated by this administration.
Well, I would say that's part of it. Every government now wants to prove a point, so to speak. Yes, you're collecting allocations and people are asking, what are you doing with these monies? And so if you do not have such kinds of projects, a lot of persons will ask questions. Nigerians will ask questions. You have been receiving increased allocation to about 60%. What are you doing with it? And my concern is this what the people really need? We are seeing flyovers, we are seeing other things, but do the people really need this? Yes, we know network of roads are important. That's right. To our transportation, but then how does that improve the economy of that state, the lives of those people? Is it really, because I recall that former President Buhari mentioned that some of the projects that some of those governors carry out do not directly impact the lives of these people. But it's good to commission them, but how are they improving the lives of the average persons living in that state? That's what I am interested in.
Fantastic, viewpoints that she gave there. I think I meant to say phantom project. So when I said elephant, you were like, elephant, okay.
White elephant, right?
So the thing is, that's left to be seen, by the economists to see whether, yes, ability to move produce from farmlands, to the cities, and people able to move to their offices and all of that. Remember when this place was closed down, and it was just crazy at the time.
Yeah.
But now we're having infrastructure, coming on board.
Yeah, and I'm a very big fan of infrastructure. I also get where Veronica is coming from. The normal Nigerians, they don't care about the road. They care about what they will eat.
No, Nigerians care about the road.
No, I know, but some Nigerians are still talking, what are we going to eat? We are hungry. You're telling me you are doing flyover when I'm hungry. We hear things like that.
But everything cannot land on our table.
We see comments like that on social media. But for me, I'm very big on infrastructure because I believe that a country that has good infrastructure, then you're in the step of the right direction.
That's right.
At least one thing has been ticked, more can be done. So if there's anything I want to speak on is how we can now, linger back to the citizens, because they are the ones that will use these roads at the end of the day. You can't be in the hospital and be driving. So at the end of the day, we also have to think of them as we're doing infrastructure and everything. What are we also doing for these people, to put food on their table, job security, food security? What are we doing for them? But I acknowledge the president. I love what he's doing. I love what we and the president are doing. Infrastructure is good. We see other countries. I'll use Ghana, for example. We see the roads in Ghana. John Mahama started a very long road in Ghana, which, people are happy about. We love infrastructure, but at the end of the day, we also need to think about the people that will use the infrastructure.
That's right. True. So that's how they say that Oliver Twist will always ask for more.
Definitely. Human wants are insatisfiable.
Absolutely. So let's move on to the leadership newspaper, and then the same thing with the Blueprint newspaper, where we're having, clashes already because coalition are facing hurdle over name. So two other associations seek recognition as ADA, and then by the time you now look at it, one of the parties is saying that, okay, the one on 109 is the first is the All Democratic Alliance, being promoted by Chief Akin Ricketts to challenge Tinubu 2027. Another one is 110 on this 110 list, Advanced Democratic Alliance. Is that one coming in advance before the other, or what's going on? Because battle of names, that's what we're seeing.
Oh, Chief Akin Ricketts is somebody I know personally. He was Commissioner for Information in Cross River State at a point. He might sound, his name might sound Yoruba, but he's actually Cross Riverian.
Oh, nice.
It's funny that things like that are happening. Now, if I don't see why that should be a problem. One ADA and the other ADA are just acronyms, all right? The real names are not the same thing. So it depends on what you want to sell. Do you want to sell the acronym, or you want to sell the actual name?
That's right.
That shouldn't be a major problem. But you see, we are talking about Nigerian politics where everything is an issue. What bothers me is that for every election cycle, we have hundreds of people going to register parties. And after that, what happens? So it's as if party registration is a new kind of business in the political field. That's what I see.
I'm a devotee. I pray a lot, so I'm looking forward to seeing one of these ballot papers, because it will be very long. So it will be long enough for me to perform my prayers.
Are they registered yet? I don't think so.
I'm just imagining in my head when you have that long.
They should be.
But it's looking like this time INEC is not joking with it. It looks like maybe majority of them will be registered. It looks like majority of them will be registered actually.
Well, registering is not a challenge. What's your ideology? Because most parties talk about so many things, yet what they say they are, at the end of the day, they trample on their constitution. They don't even respect what they pieced together to say they came together to form at the end of the day. They do not even become that option that Nigerians can look up to at the end of the day, not telling themselves the truth first of all, but having some things on paper that they cannot uphold. It's good, register them because it is their right, but at the end of the day, how are you helping our democracy thrive? That is what I want to see. How are you being that opposition that Nigerians can say, oh, you have come before now, several years ago we saw parties come together, oh, we are this, we are that. Most of them come together to form so they can negotiate with other parties that already have structures on the ground, so that they can negotiate for something for themselves. That is what we have seen in our history as a people. So it's important that, yes, allow them register, but then if your name does not come perhaps the first 10, a lot of people will not know what you will not want to vote you. They will not go, they'll take the pains.
Or the first
if
three
you want
even.
to challenge the APC, then be ready for what?
Ready for it, and they are both alliance. So we don't know. Maybe alliance will now ally with alliance. Now the alliances.
Okay.
Ria, you want to go at that quickly?
No, but for me, I'll say, talking about the fact that we have Ada and we have another Ada and it's a problem. I'm like, politicians, why do we pick little things like this? When opposition, they want to have a problem. I want to hear big problems. I don't want to hear a problem. We're talking about names. Like,
but it's
different things at the end of the day. Your Ada means a different thing. Another person Ada means a different thing. So what is the problem?
Okay, so maybe one should be Ada Obi and the other one should be Adam. All right, so still in line with what we said a little earlier. If you look at Platform Times, the president reacting, saying that Nigeria's recovery depends on governors' commitment to good governance. Tinubu declares, mocks opposition coalition, labels leaders political IDPs, because that's where ideologues come to play. This Nigeria also says the same thing. PDP reinstates Anyanwu as national secretary, suspends NEC meeting. He's been working, not an appointee. Wike chides Tamagum. So let's just quickly do those two. But looking at it, we talked about the alliances having issues, and then we are now having PDP grudgingly reinstating Anyanwu back to the position of the national secretary, which had been one of the problems that they've been facing.
I want to believe that party constitution is like an agreement that all of you have agreed to, that we're going to follow this thing. And the party agreement says if you are going to run for an elective position, you have to resign from whatever you were doing as civil servant, business, apart from businessmen that can't resign from their own businesses.
That's right.
But if you had any appointment or whatever, you resign. I guess that's the genesis of the whole wahala. But I think that because the elections are so close, the faction that is kicking against Anyanwu should just calm down.
Let's race on, Veronica, and let's go to the Nigerian News Direct. We've been talking about the tax reform bills. Now, Tinubu is to sign landmark tax reform bills into law, ushering new fiscal era for Nigeria. And if you look at, these reform bills, it actually include the 4 bills, including the Nigerian tax reform, ease of doing business, the Nigerian Tax Administration Bill, the Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Bill, and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill. I know you also talk about Naseni. Oftentimes we talk about the tax reform bill. How do you see this, coming this time round?
Well, especially for small businesses, I like the ease of doing business thing. If there's one thing that you have seen SMEs complain about, is the fact that they do not have that issue sorted. Over the years, we've been struggling with it, the ease of doing business, multiple taxation, and all of it. Yeah. So if we are going to have this on the board, I think that it will help businesses and even individuals thrive. Yeah. I'm looking at how this will also help us spread our tax net to those who have luxurious goods that are not being taxed, and those who have these monies but are evading taxes. Yeah. So it's important that as much as we are trying to help the ease of doing business, we are also able to capture more people under the tax net who should be paying taxes but are evading tax.
Absolutely. Ria?
And quickly, just to add on that, I feel like if you are a Nigerian citizen and you are not paying your tax, then you need to look inward, because something is wrong with you. Because that means you don't want the betterment of the country, because there's no reason why your tax will not be paid. I really hope that this bill goes through, because of being someone that owns a small business, I know how difficult it is. Sometimes you do not make enough. Imagine you have to pay a heavy amount of tax as well. You understand? So I'm hoping that this will totally pass through, and the fact that it's going to help a lot of small business owners that have always been complaining about this.
Right, let's talk about Daily Trust and Nigerian Tribune, the focus on the insecurity, and this is quite recent. We've been talking about bloodletting, across this nation, in some parts of the country. But this time around, this terrorists, I'll call them terrorists, they call them bandits here, but whatever it is, they are gun building, they are going for people's blood. Soldiers, bandits in bloody clash in Niger, many feared dead. And this many, according to Nigerian Tribune, saying that 17 soldiers killed, 10 others injured in battle with terrorists in Niger and they said number of the assailants or bandits were also killed, but we don't know their numbers.
It is strange that the headlines is talking about the soldiers that died. Normally what we would see...
Yeah, because that's a casualty on our own side.
Yes, I understand. But it doesn't happen as often as... I've not seen it for a while, let me just put it that way. That the government side, the casualties on the government side is what makes the headlines and not the casualty number of the bandits or the terrorists or whatever they want to call them that made the headline. That is instructive for me, you know, saying that finally the army is really feeling what is going on.
They've been feeling it.
Yes, you know, but now they are showing that they feel what is going on. You know, losing 17 soldiers in one day is a big blow. How many are there in the whole of Nigerian army that they will be losing that much in a day?
Right.
That means they are going to put their acts together again. That's what I hope, that they are going to put their acts together and face this problem. It's hitting too close to home.
There's so much chaos in the world. We do not want it to be too close to home.
My heart goes out to those who lost their lives, their families, and we hope that this does not, you know, because when you're talking about morale, it's critical, but I hope that God rest their soul at the end of the day. It's not ideal that we lose these persons. Of course, talking about this making headlines, the confidence and all of that, Nigerians repose on these people to deliver and secure the nation. It's perhaps what he is trying to expatiate on. But I believe that we are still doing a lot when it comes to addressing matters of insecurity or security in the nation, as the case may be.
Ria, I understand we need to quickly race on, so let's move on to the Daily Independent. Again, tomatoes are now luxury in Nigerian kitchens. Now, say families switch to substitutes as price soars. Back in the day, just few months away, he's already laughing. A few months away, we had tomatoes, you know, the price going up, and then my wife and I, we decided to we watched something on YouTube using watermelon as substitutes. God would have it. What the pepper we bought was red hot, you know, chili pepper. Man, after eating it, I felt like a dragon. They got to spit fire, and when I had to move my bowel, you know, the big G, second number 2, as they call it in the street parlance. You can't imagine what happened.
I tell you something, Ibrahim. Nothing can substitute to tomatoes. Tomato is tomato. What else do you want? As women, Veronica, what do you want to use again?
Carrots, mangoes.
I will never
Are you making a fruity soup?
I'm serious. People use it.
There's this variety called
pepper and onions. People do it.
What about watermelon? I did watermelon.
No, watermelon. No,
that's too
I saw it on YouTube.
But you know,
there's this variety called the snake tomato.
What?
Yes, a snake tomato. It's not very.
And it's
really
cheaper.
long.
I know that one.
It's cheaper. It's not popular, so it's cheaper. You know, but it's not very popular, so we don't find them on our regular markets.
Nothing substitutes to the round tomato.
Tomato.
To your soup. And as women, we know that better. But
when you do not have an alternative, what is available becomes useful.
Yeah, it was very, very expensive on Tuesday. Yesterday, I was still back to the market, and I saw that, you know, it's coming down a bit. So I guess this story, yes, coming down a bit, because what I could get for 5,000 naira, 7,000 naira, as of yesterday, now came down to about 4, 5.
So we need to go to the market, Veronica. We need to go to the market. But I'm happy that I'm really happy that it's coming down. Just to add on that, because this is a serious issue. When we talk about tomatoes, that's what a lot of women used to cook and even sell to take care of their children or whatsoever. So I'm happy that the prices are.
If you recall, the African farmer, we had him here, and he said, in the next 2 months, tomato is going to be expensive. And
you mentioned.
That's what's happening.
And I think he also preempted them. We didn't hear 2 taps at this time around. He burst their bubble. So it's one of the biggest cans, you know, so to speak. Right, so let's get on to Sporting Life, which is our final, last but not least paper. Iwobi is keen to following in Ronaldinho's Okocha's footsteps. So we saw that Iwobi was carried as a baby by Okocha, who is his uncle, and Ronaldinho also at one point carried him, which a mother showed. But I know Veronica will have more insight into that. But let me start off with you very quickly. Yes, because
Veronica is looking at me. It's when we talk football.
Why not?
Well, from what I learned, Okocha had always been interested in Nwobi. He recognized his talent when he was really young, and he did everything to take him over to England and ensure that he put him along that corridor where his talent will be recognized. And today, Iwobi is a big star. So if Iwobi says, "I want to be like my uncle," and Ronaldinho, my uncle is my uncle. Ronaldinho is my how do we put it?
That's right.
Ronaldinho is an inspiration.
My inspiration,
and is looking to lift the trophy, as this, enigmas did at the time.
Of course, Ronaldinho is who he is and who he says he is, although he's not one of those who is everywhere in your face. But then when you look at his career, he's been successful.
Fantastic.
Just like JJ Okocha too, 1996 Olympics, talk about 1994 African Cup of Nations. You cannot speak about these things without mentioning JJ Okocha. These men have, wrote their names on the sands of time. So I'm glad that Alex Iwobi is looking up to these two people who have made their names and become inspiration to young persons in football. But you see, carrying you does not transfer the grace.
And I'll say there's nothing wrong in dreaming. I'm a very big fan of Alex Iwobi. I think he's a fantastic player. Over time, he has shown that he's very resilient, and I love the fact that he's dreaming big. Like, these are the people that I'm looking up to, and I think I want him to be better than those people, not those people.
That's the goal. That's the goal. Yes, that's about it.